Okay, for this video, and also the next video, we will go over some very common examples of simplifying or rationalizing complex numbers. Okay, so the questions here from question 1 through 7 would give you the whole scope of the varieties of the type of questions that you would see on this topic. Okay. Question number one, it's a very common type of rationalization because the I is in the denominator, and we were talking about this in the previous video, that we will just go ahead and multiply by 1, but this particular one, it's I over I, and that is 3i over 4i squared. And like I said in the previous video, that you should invest a couple seconds to remind yourself why, okay, why you are doing it. And the why is that we're able to not have I in the denominator anymore. So the idea, it's really about do whatever you could legally, all right, so that the values are still the same, and yet we will fulfill our goal, or we will accomplish our goal, and that is to not have any sort of square root or radicals in the denominator. So, and again, if you see a simple I, we just do I over I. Now, some people would say, hey, Mr. Chan, can I do a 4i over 4i? It's not like wrong if you do it, but you will end up doing a lot more afterwards because you have to simplify the 4 out. And 4 is not the reason why you do all these things, right? So we have to be really focused on what we are trying to handle, and we just do whatever we need to get things done properly. Okay. All right. Let's move on to number two. Number two, it's actually pretty similar to number one. It's just that it gets a little bit ugly at the beginning, but not too much. We have I to the 30th power over I to the 31st power. Now, you might go ahead and take care of each one individually, and then you fix it. Or if you remember from Algebra 1, with the way you handle exponents, is that, well, you have I times itself 30 times in the numerator, and you have I times itself 31 times in the denominator. So you actually would have just a single I remaining. Okay. Now, for those who are a little bit lost with this little example, I can offer you a simple example, if you will. You can think about this. Okay. Okay. What is I square over I cube? Now, um, I'm not going to talk about any kind of exponent rules, because if you knew the rules, you would not get stuck right here. So I'm not going to go over the rules here. We'll talk about the rules later on when we deal with the exponents in the second semester. So I times I, what's the meaning of I times I? It's I mean, sorry, I gave up the answer. I was going to ask, what's the meaning of I squared? That is I times I, right? What's the meaning of I cube? That is I times I times I. So when you have these, you're like, oh yeah, we can simplify, right? So that's how you get 1 and 1, because I over I is just 1. So what's left? You have a single I left, which is very similar to what we see here with the I to the 30th power over I to the 31st power. So you have just I at in the bottom. Okay. And then we say, oh, hold on. That is not going to be okay, because we need to rationalize it. So we do that. We do that. So we have 2I over I squared. And we knew what I squared is. It's -1, right? So your final answer is simply -2i. Okay. So All right, so number two, it's just, takes you a little bit of work before you get to rationalize it. Same thing with number three. Okay, now for number three, can you just go straight ahead and multiply by square root of -8? Yeah, we could, but I think it's a better practice to first go ahead and convert this to the imaginary number first. Okay, 2i square root of 2. Okay, first. Okay, 2 root 2, it's because of the square root of 8, and the square root of -1, it's your I, so that's what we have. And what do we multiply? Okay, give yourself 5 seconds. Think about this. What are we going to multiply? What gives you the problem? The problem here is the I and the root 2, right? The 2 that sits in the very beginning, that's okay. It's not part of the problem, and we don't want this to be part of the problem either. So all you need to do is to multiply by 1 times square root of 2. Okay? So in the numerator, you have 3i root 2. All right, so far so good. And what is, well, 2, it's right here, right? 2 is here. What's I times I? Oh, we have I squared. Duh, right? What about root 2 times root 2? That's 2. So what do we have here? We have 3i root 2, and then 2 times 2, it's 4. What's I squared? We have said I squared plenty of times now, don't we? That's -1. So what's the final answer? Negative 3i root 2 over 4. Done. Okay? Done, done, done. All right. So again, what we see from question number 3 is that, do you know what causes the problem? Okay, what causes the problem is the denominator, it's the I, it's the root 2. These are the two things that are causing problem. So we just go ahead, multiply by 1 in the form of I root 2 over I root 2. Okay? Now, do not let any distraction to take away your focus. Okay? Like in number 4. Again, you have to know what is bothering us. Okay? There are things out there, and things might not be a problem at all. You got to know what's the problem. The problem is the I in the denominator. Okay? The I in the numerator, it is perfectly okay. So we are not going to get distracted by the numerator. So what do? We have to not have an I in the denominator. So we do I over I. Okay? So we've got 3i minus 4i squared over 2i squared. And as I said, we have seen I squared too many times now, don't we? Okay, so that's what we have. And then we have 3i plus 4, and then minus 2. So you can leave it like this, or you can also put the negative in the front of the fraction, but not in the numerator, because you have 2 terms in the numerator. So you can either put the negative in the denominator, that's fine. Denominator is fine, or put it in the front of the fraction. That's also fine, but not anywhere else. Okay. All right, so that's number 4. All right, so now, so make sure you take a look at these 4 questions. Okay, I'm going to take a break right here. Okay, because the next video will focus on something slightly different, like the other kind of rationalization. So I want to make sure that there's one video for the simple stuff, and then the next video will be on a slightly different material, so that for those who want to focus on the difficult part, you can just look at that video. Okay, so we'll go to the next video and look at question 5, 6, and 7.